guys, it's Sarah, and today we are going to talk about the BookTube Besties Reading Retreat that we just had this past weekend. It was so much fun. So much fun. And I'm going to tell you some of the books that I have now added to my TBR because of that. It's no secret that every single time we have a retreat, I walk away with a whole list of books. Some of them I haven't heard of before. Some of them I have heard of, but they weren't really on my radar. And now they completely are because everybody talks about them. All that fun stuff. So I'm going to show you what books were recommended throughout the retreat. Some of them I already have. So I'll tell you about those. So those are automatically, if I already own them and they've been recommended, they're going on that list. And then some that I don't own yet, but I would definitely plan to check out. So these are the ones that were mentioned that really stood out to me. All right, we will just start with the ones I already own because I have them sitting here. So the first one is The Whispers by Ashley Audrain. I did get this from one of my more recent Book of the Month boxes because I loved Ashley Audrain's debut book, The Push. Loved it. And definitely want to read more from her. So when this popped up as an option, I automatically put it in my box. So I was like, yes, please. I want more from this author for sure. And it was one that was recommended. Now, this follows a mother and a son. I believe it's her son. And there is a public kerfluffle between the two, for lack of a better word. And I believe this child ends up dead or falls out of a window. And I think there's a lot of questions on, did this altercation lead to that? Did she do it? Is she guilty? Did she cause him to do it? What happened? So, yeah, I'm sure it's going to push a lot of boundaries, and I'm here for him. All right. The next one is Evie Drake Starts Over by Linda Holmes. I don't know if it's Evie or Evie. I'm not sure. I think it's Evie. This one was actually sent to me. I believe Krista sent this to me for one of our Christmas book exchanges. So I've had it on my shelves for a while and definitely need to get to it. So this is following a woman who I believe is she mourning the death of her husband? Hang on. Let me double check my facts. Hang on. Yes. Okay. I couldn't remember if it was a death or a divorce, but her husband has died and she is mourning that. And she ends up getting connected with a baseball player who is dealing with the end of his career. Something happened to him, I think an injury or something, to where he cannot play anymore. And so he's having a hard time with that. And so they end up forming this partnership or something where they're both staying at the same place, kind of to help each other out type thing. And I believe things are going to happen from there. So I've heard such good things about this book. I can't believe I haven't read it yet. Okay, the next one is The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. And I was very lucky to have the publisher send me a copy of this. I loved one book that I read from her. I read The City of Brass, which is the first book in her trilogy, and loved it. And this one is another one that I'm just really excited to read. And this is following a female retired pirate, I believe is what she is. Like, she was a pirate, like a leader, I believe. And she comes out of retirement because there is somebody who needs saving, somebody very precious to her. And so she comes out of retirement to go on one last adventure to try to find this person. And we'll go from there. But heard really good things about this one too. Okay, this next one is actually one that I started and then I soft DNF'd it. Like, it was just a not right now type thing. This was a group read for Historathon a little bit ago, and I started to read it and just a lot of things were happening. And so I couldn't continue reading it. So I did put it down, but that is The Lost Girls of Willowbrook. This is by Ellen Marie Wiseman. Now, when I was reading it, I was enjoying it. I do really love her writing. She wrote one of my favorite books, The Life She Was Given. I love that book with my whole heart. I still think about scenes from that book, and I read it so long ago. So I know that I want to read more from her because that's still the only one I've read. And I picked this up when it was announced that it was the Historathon read, and then I didn't continue with it. I didn't even get very far. I just had so much happening that it just wasn't able to happen, but still sitting here, still on my radar to pick up again. And this follows a asylum that is famous for gross mistreatment of their patients. And this place was real, which is what makes this book so impactful and scary, is that this place actually existed and you can do research on it. But it is following somebody who ends up at this place, and she's looking for her sister and all that kind of stuff. So, Okay, and the last one of the books that I own is Yellow Wife. This is by Sadika Johnson. I heard about this actually, I think first through Lindsay. She read it and absolutely loved it. And I was very intrigued after hearing her talk about it. So this is following a woman who is the daughter of a slave and the slave owner. So she is their daughter, and she is treated much differently than everybody else because of it. And just kind of what that environment means for her and her life and all that stuff. But I have heard incredible things about this book. So yeah. Okay, so now we will talk about some books that I don't own either yet, or I just don't have access to them yet. So the first one is The Incarnations by Susan Barker. I actually just put a hold on this through my library, and I should be able to get it pretty soon. But this is following a man who is a taxi driver, and one day he is lowering the visor in his cab and a letter falls out, and the letter is addressed to him, and it is from somebody who claims to know him and to have been a witness to his previous life. And tells the story about his life that he's like, what are you talking about? I'm a taxi driver. And these letters keep popping up for him, and always written by the same person, talking about some different past life that he has had, and that person was present. And so it goes through all that stuff. So it's kind of, following the idea of how many lives have you lived and, all that kind of stuff. And the cover of this one is gorgeous. But I did just put a hold on my library for it. I would like to give that one a try and see what I think. Okay, the next one is The Quiet Tenant. This is... how do you say her name? I think it's Clemence McCallan. I don't think that I pronounced her name correctly, but The Quiet Tenant. I have heard about this book through multiple people, mostly Audrey, who is the one who actually recommended it at the retreat too. And I know that she loved it. And I've heard people at work talk about it as well, saying that they loved it too. And so I've just been hearing so much about this. So this follows a man who has a family. But what nobody knows is that he keeps a woman captive. And nobody knows about this. And they get into a situation where they have to move. So they have to move away from their house into a smaller house, I believe. And he's taking this woman with them. Nobody knows. Yes, please. So it sounds so creepy. And how is this going to work? And how is he going to get away with moving an entire person who's held against her will? I can't even. So yeah, definitely want to read that. Okay, this next one I actually do have, but I have it on my Kindle because I got it from NetGalley. And that's No Two Persons by Erica Bauermeister. Another one that I've started. And then I ended up putting it down because I was reading it at a time I had picked it up and I was trying to read it, and it was a very overwhelming time for me. So I haven't gone back to it yet. But I do plan to, because what I initially read, and I think I maybe got 6% in, so very, very early. What I did read, I really enjoyed. So I would like to get back to that one for sure. But this one is actually... the whole concept of a book and multiple people reading it and how it affected their lives when they live very different lives in very different situations. But this one book had an impact on them in a different way. So, okay, the next one is Stardust by Neil Gaiman. I love Neil Gaiman. I have read his books before, and I definitely want to read more. So this one just kind of went on my list. Yes, please. And I know it's a fantasy, but I don't know much else about it. And I'm going to kind of leave it that way because his writing is beautiful. And this would probably be one that I listen to be honest, because if he reads it, his voice is I know it would be fantasy that I would be listening to. So I may try to grab it as well and maybe kind of tandem read it together, like listen as I'm going, because him reading it to me would be fantastic. But with fantasy, I do need to have it in front of me as well. So I'd make sure I don't miss anything. So, okay, the next one is The Wicked Sister by Karen Dion. And this is one that actually I sent to Lindsay for one of our Christmas book exchanges. I remember sending that to her because we've both read a book by Karen Dion before and we both really enjoyed it. And so I sent her that one, but I don't have a copy myself. But this one is about two sisters and kind of their relationship, and one of them is not so good. But I've heard very good things about it. And then Amber from the retreat really sold me on it. Okay, and next is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Let me tell you about the passion that I heard from the recommender in that one. It was so good. It was so good. It made me go, I've never wanted to read that book more, ever. So this is definitely a classic, and well, classic, but more modern classic, but definitely a lot of commentary about the future and the government and how involved they are and what they actually control and all that good stuff. So, yeah, but I definitely have that officially on my radar now. Okay. And the last one, this was, if we could pick one book to describe the reading retreat, it would be this one, because so many people were reading it at the same time. Like, it was insane how many people were reading that book. And then everybody was loving it and 5-starring it and loving it and crying and loving it and loving it. And I'm like, oh, okay, this book has not really been on my radar. And now it is. And I already have a copy coming to me, because my friend Candace was at the retreat and she sent me a message and said, you want my copy? And I said, yeah, I do. So she's sending it to me. Let me tell you, this is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. It wasn't on my radar and I don't really know why. And I think it's just, I never really looked into it. I didn't know what it was about. It was just kind of there. And I'm like, okay. So this one, I still don't even really know what it's about. I know it follows an author. It follows an author, and I don't really know much else about it because I was trying not to listen to too much, and people weren't talking too in depth because other people were reading it. They didn't want to give anything away, but, yeah, I want to read it now. So, and I will, because it's coming to me. Thank you, Candace. Okay, guys, those are the books that I have put on my kind of immediate radar from the reading retreat that got me interested in some things. Like I said, I have a couple on hold from the library already. I have one on the way to me. And yeah, and then the ones that I own, they're kind of getting a little bit more attention from me right now as far as maybe I'll pick them up. So, all right, let me know down below if you read any of these. Let me know. And I will see you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day.